Look at this guy.
Wow. Ken Schrader comes with an armful.
Don't even think about coming in here and not bringing stuff.
Look at this guy.
Nice.
But you'll like this.
Wow.
I got a story about this.
All right.
Now, hold on. We want to get you on mic so you can tell us all about this. Go ahead and sit down so we can. Wow, look at this stuff. I'm going to get this out.
Well, okay, you'll like this story. 1900 something. Someone came to me, wanted to make that.
Yeah.
So it's Kodiak on the side.
Yeah. Which is, they didn't make stuff with.
No, but it was adult collectible. It was one of the first ones. So the guy gives me a check. So I go to the boss, Mr. Rick, and said, "What do I do with this check?" And he said, "Just keep it. We're not in the toy business." Stuff changed, didn't it?
Yeah,
Yes,
right,
it did. Yes,
Yeah.
it did.
It changed.
So
a
you
bunch.
talked to Mast?
Yes.
So that makes me imagine that all the old guard are all on the text message together.
Is that right?
I doubt it, but
they're in a group me text.
I
yeah.
want to imagine that there's probably 20, 30 retired race car drivers all chatting it up every
Right,
day. Hey, man,
right.
where you headed today?
I don't have any of the new numbers. I got some of the new numbers.
Yeah.
And whenever I need a new number, I can call Kenny Wallace. But I talk to Rick every now and then. He's one of them guys you talk to and you instantly feel smarter.
Yeah.
I agree. That was something about Rick. He's savvy, man. He's savvy.
Rick was great. A lot
Yeah.
of fun.
So did you reach out to him? Did he reach out to you? What did y'all talk about? He literally said you need to go bring them something. They're that kind of people. Like we won't talk to you unless you bring us gifts.
No, he didn't. He didn't say that. But he said it wouldn't hurt none. But we got new shirts. It's kind of a big year for us. The box.
Why is this year big?
Look at it. It says it. 50.
Tell me.
50 years.
You've been racing 50 years.
Well, if I ever get started this year, I had my shoulder operated on, so I'm good to go in 2 more weeks, and then we got them lined up.
What'd you do to your shoulder?
Rotator cuff.
Yeah. Man, you kind of put that off for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been putting a lot of stuff off. Yeah, but it got it done, and oh boy, is it
Better?
Oh, it's great.
Really?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Nice.
But it wasn't so good for a while.
Yeah.
After your surgery, you're saying.
Yeah.
Because you were in a sling.
My
were,
brother-in-law, LW's had both of them done.
Yeah. Hey, so I don't know much about a podcast, right?
You don't?
No.
Okay.
I just learning about that face space, like the king says.
Face space, yeah.
Yeah. So I listened to a bunch. I was driving to Georgetown, Delaware last week. I listened to a bunch. Grilled hot dogs with mayonnaise.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Grilled hot dogs with mayonnaise.
Yes.
That's what I need to eat.
Yeah, well, you need to try one.
Okay.
I'm all about the mustard, too, but the grilled hot dogs with mayonnaise is, and six-pack.
It's, of course.
The movie?
The movie, yeah.
Is your favorite racing movie?
It's right up there. I mean, I like, as far as real ones, I like with the one with the 2 hero Formula One guys. Rush.
So, all right, I don't even differentiate between real and like I lump them all together.
Just a racing movie.
Yeah.
To Please a Lady. You've seen that one? Long time.
No.
To Please a Lady. Clark Gable.
Racing movie.
I think Mickey Rooney.
Hot Wheels to Please a Lady or something like that. Yep.
Yeah, To Please a Lady. I mean, IndyCar stuff and dirt track midgets.
Man.
Had to be in the late 40s, early 50s. Mm-hmm. It's neat.
Yeah.
Real stuff.
I always liked, I thought Strucker Race was great because Burt was such a huge star at that time with the Bandit movies, and him to do a racing movie really shined a light on us. And it incorporated a lot of the drivers they got to be in the movie, and which I thought they didn't do too bad of a job, like Dad and Kyle and all them racing the car.
Right.
They didn't. It was a decent scene, you know. Usually,
What did they race something down the hallway?
it was room service carts.
Room service carts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, racing down the hallway.
Yeah. So I always thought that was great.
Yeah. We've had a couple people on the show that were in that movie. Hobbs, David Hobbs.
David Hobbs was in there.
You know, hearing him talk about how the actual taping of that, his scene was funny. Harry Gant. Was Harry Gant in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
was.
right.
Oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
Oh, hell, here we
I
go.
got to look at all the stuff in here.
Take your time.
Yeah,
Look
man.
at it. Take it in.
PW's door. That's off. Is that off Grandpa's Camaro?
That's off of the Camaro that I built for a friend of mine. We raced it at Concord in the Street Stock Series. But yeah, it looks pretty similar to
Yeah.
the old car. I wish, man, it'd be awesome to have a door off of one of those cars.
Oh, one of Smut's helmets. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I got a couple Smut helmets. I got one from his Alka-Seltzer days, and I also got Jimmy Means' helmet from when he won the Tennessee. You remember back in the 70s when they were giving away those Winston Racing Series championship helmets to the state champ?
Yeah.
Jimmy won one in 74.
Yeah.
And I got that helmet.
Guys wore them, and it always aggravated me. You're not supposed to
It's
wear
like a
that
trophy.
thing. It's a trophy. It's supposed to be sitting on a shelf.
I know it.
Yeah.
Tommy Ellis used to wear his.
Is that right?
Remember,
Yeah.
Oh,
He's learning a lot about Tommy Ellis over the last
I
couple
have
weeks.
been. Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to wear
Tommy
his-
Ellis was sitting in Junie's office when I got hired in '85.
Yeah.
I mean, Junie called up, and I flew up there, and somebody picked me up at the airport and walked in Junie's office, and Tommy Ellis was never very happy with me after that moment because
he was trying to get it too.
Well,
I didn't know that.
Wow, was that just odd timing that just happened by
just
coincidence?
happened to be there. Well, Tommy lived in right around Richmond, I think,
Okay.
right there. So it just,
He was wanting a job, but Junie hired you.
yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't like you either.
Yeah. It was times that I don't.
I'd get over it, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy was a wild one. So you are talking about that movie with those old sprint cars. You came from racing non-wing sprint cars around. I mean, dangerous. Talk about dangerous racing. I've seen some of it. I've seen.
Yeah.
I've seen races that you were in, old videos from.
Yeah. Well, that one diecast I brought you is one of the first Gambler cars.
Yeah.
My partner Ray and Sue Marler at I-55. I drove for him first night out, Farmington, Missouri. It's pretty cool. It was really quick in hot laps, but I said it's a little tippy. It wants to get upside down.
Jeez.
And so we went out to qualify, and a new track record first lap, upside down second lap, won the heat race, upside down trophy dash, won the feature. So you just
Wingless or with the wing?
that was with the wing. It was still tippy.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But but I started out in stock cars though, Dale.
You did?
Yeah.
ARCA, right? Or,
No, just
what was that called up there?
it was a little track where Rusty started.
Oh, no. Okay.
Lake Hill Speedway, it's a hobby call. They called it a Sportsman, but it was a friggin' 64 Impala, It was a hobby car. And
Was it your car? Did you?
it's Daddy's, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the family car.
Gotcha.
So your dad owned race cars,
Daddy raced.
He
Daddy
raced?
Yes, a bunch.
and did anybody else in the family race before that?
No.
So it's
No.
just
Daddy did. And then I turned 16. They let me drive a car. And hell, he'd already won a couple races in it that year.
so
And
it's a good car.
good car. Yes. It handled. It was nothing special. It was just an old car, but it handled.
Yeah.
And that was Daddy's experience,
Yeah.
So how'd you do?
We won first night. but you sit up there, and you know how some of them kids are. I mean,
Yeah.
sat up there as long as I could remember. And I turned 16 on a Saturday. They did let us go over Saturday afternoon. I got to make, it was pavement, got to make 20 laps. Then went back over Sunday, and we won. And, but it was like taking a knife to a gunfight. It was a good little race car.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was fancier ones, but none that went around and turned better.
Yeah. How did you end up in like dirt sprint cars with wings, and
Yeah, well.
how did you progress into that?
One night, there was a guy I met, you leave school at lunchtime, and when I was, I guess, a junior, and go to the Dairy Queen. There's a guy there that I knew owned a midget, and I kept beating on him to let me, because they ran midgets at our little track every now and then. I kept beating on him to let me drive one,
Yeah.
and he let me hot lap his one night. And he told me just lock the brakes up, then let them off till oil pressure comes up, hit the switch, go. Oil pressure never came up, so they pushed me all the way around track. I pulled it out of gear, coasted in, told him oil pressure never came up. He's like, "You dumb friggin' kid, give me your helmet." He gets in there. Well, he goes right out, fires it up, comes in. Now, this is just a hot lap, and it doesn't have any oil pressure. And I look over his shoulder, when he pulls in, and so he shuts it off. I said, didn't have any oil pressure. He said, oh, it's got it. Something's just wrong. Well, it had a little piece of silicone in them. Remember them old neoprene oil gauge lines, So anyway, let me make a couple hot laps. We start in the back of the feature and run sixth. And after the race, he came up and gave me $40. And I said, what's that for? He said, well, I paid $100 to run sixth. You get 40 of it.
Wow.
And I said, no. He said, yeah. I said, I can go faster. The next week we run second.
Yeah.
We started winning some midget races, and the Marlers asked me to run their sprint car, and we won in it first night out. And I ran some old cars, and then we started running wing cars, and then I got an unbelievable, biggest day in my career to drive a Silver Crown car at Terre Haute, Indiana. And all of a sudden, people were calling. But I was still running the stock car also.
Right. So what was the car that I see every once in a while that was the yellow, what is that?
Yellow.
What was that?
It was a Sprint.
Ford?
A Sprint. Oh, the stock car.
Yeah, what was that?
It's a little Mustang. We had people, real good friends. It was Don and Hank Siva King in Fenton, Missouri, that owned race cars. And my buddy Jerry Sifford drove it, and he got hurt. So they let me at the racetrack, but got run over by a car. So they asked me to drive it, and I drove for them until I started. That was 79. Drove for them until I started. A couple years after I started cup racing, and they just bought their stuff.
You raced for them, continued to race for them even as you entered the Cup Series?
Yeah, I'd go home.
And then you bought their stuff?
Yeah, I'd go home on the weekends.
And race that stock car?
Run for them, yeah. And we'd still run the midget quite a bit. Didn't run the sprint car a whole lot, but still run the midget and just ran whatever.
Yeah. So I know Jeff Gordon eventually kind of, he was kind of the one guy, him and Tony Stewart. How do I frame this up? So midget racers, dirt sprint car racers, typically don't become stock car racers, all right? And a lot of those guys would go to Indy. Even when Jeff came and Tony came, it was sort of there was a bit of a moment where the public's sitting there going, what are they going to choose, right? Yeah. Are they going to come to NASCAR? Right. Or are they going to go to Indy? So were you even thinking like beyond sprint car racing, beyond what you were doing?
I was, as a kid, I just wanted to race, whatever.
But did you want to go? Did you have like, all right, my goal is NASCAR.
Yeah.
My goal is Indy. Like,
my goal was a little simpler. It was like to make enough money and not have to get a job, and I got no problem with working, because you wind up working harder doing this stuff, but just to keep racing. But I did get to go to Indy.
Yeah.
I went to Indy in 83. 83. We won the USAC Silver Crown deal in 82, and Yasona and Hilda Purcell asked me to go up there. And I went up there for rookie orientation, March or April. I had an old Eagle copy with a small block Chevy in it. We ran like 182. Well, Yasona asked me to come up to his house a couple weeks later, and there was...
Well, wait a minute. You go around Indy, even at 182. Like, what was... That was unlike anything.
That's the first time you've ever done that, right?
Yeah, it only took 186 to get in a race then.
But I'm just saying, that's like unlike anything you'd ever experienced in your life. Are you sitting there going, I made it?
Right.
Well,
what was your feeling?
my feeling was, I got no clue what I'm doing, but this is kind of fun,
right?
And he got all excited and bought a 81 or 2 March with a Cosworth. This is a real car.
What's the difference?
One was a Eagle. No clue. One was I didn't have a clue either. One was the Eagle copy. It was narrower, narrower, and a small block Chevy in the back. This was a March. It was wider. I guess it had more downforce.
Okay.
And it had Cosworth Ford, and that's what other guys had.
Yeah.
And we kept blowing engines, and we missed first week qualifying, And the second week, maybe Monday something, we cut a tire and it killed it. We were running 192, and you only had to run 186 to get in.
Yeah.
So y'all were flying.
Wait a minute. And you're at Indy in the garage.
Yeah.
With a race car, trying to compete and make the Indy 500. Were you overwhelmed, intimidated? Were you seeing people that familiar faces? What was that like for you? I mean, I remember, I can imagine going in there. I had Dad's last name, right? So when I walked into Daytona, it wasn't like I didn't feel like, it felt comfortable. It felt familiar. I've been going there all my life. But here you are at Indy, Kenny Schrader, trying to make the Indy 500 for the first time in your life. I imagine you had to have been really overwhelmed.
Yeah, it ain't Terry Hope.
It seemed like a pretty big deal,
right?
But
it is hard to impress him.
We didn't get to go. We didn't get to qualify in the first weekend because we'd blown up,
right?
And we weren't going to get another engine until Monday. So I went and run the dirt car all weekend.
You were doing stuff,
yeah. I went and had a good. When you go to Indy, when you get there. Now, this is then.
Yeah.
You got to take physical when you get there, which is, can you see and stuff. And you got to show them your helmet and stuff. Well, the night before, I was running Grant City, Illinois in a midget, and the throttle stuck. So I was running it with the kill switch. Just right, it was a big half mile then. I was racing it with the kill switch, and I said, man, this is stupid. I maybe make $100 here, but it could get bad. So I pulled in, and I took my helmet bag into the doctor's office at the Speedway, and they open it up, take your helmet down, you set it down, and dirt falls all off it and stuff. It probably wasn't, didn't impress them too much, but yeah, I mean, you were just doing it,
So you cut a tire and hit the wall.
Yeah, and that's when everybody was breaking their legs.
Yeah. So
we were running decent, and we were kind of on some people's radars just because we were doing good in the USAC sprints and the Silver Crown cars. So people come by and it's like, what do you got? And I said, got this brand new helmet that Bell gave me, and I got this uniform that. When the lower control arms came through, they didn't break my legs or cut the uniform or get everything all bloody. So I'm good to go. And they're like, no, what do you got for sponsors? And I say, if I had a sponsor, you think I'd be doing this stuff? I mean, if I had any money, you think I'd be doing this? Just kind of saw right then what was happening. And that's probably the first time I made up any business decisions and said I was really going to work on going down south.
Really?
Yeah. And like when I did, I talked to Pancho about it, because he was one
Carter?
of the guys. Yeah, he was
He'd
one
been
of the,
racing a cup car a little bit.
Yeah, but he not then.
Oh.
He was one of the guy, the Indy guy. And he's like, down there and run them damn old taxi cabs. I said, man, I don't know, it looks like a pretty good deal, and stuff. And through that old yellow dirt car,
yeah,
it had Roush engines in it, and I'd met Michael Cranifus and Lee Morris, and they helped me.
How'd they help you?
Hooked me up with Elmo.
All right.
Elmo Langley?
Elmo Langley, 5 races in 84.
I'm so glad you bring up Elmo Langley because I have so many questions. We've never actually talked about Elmo Langley. Yep. Did you know him?
I
or
know
of
him for sure, yeah.
I gotcha. So describe Elmo.
Yep, go ahead.
Elmo had a 3-car shop down off of 29, south of Harris Boulevard, on the right behind some restaurant. I mean, it just, had an old box truck, open trailer, and I got to drive for him. Had rented the car.
You rented the car?
Yes. Now, Ford helped me, Michael and Lee helped me a bunch, but still it cost $3,000 in a set of tires.
Wait a second. So you weren't driving for Elmo. You were renting Elmo's car, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got to drive for him. But yes, first 3 races.
So you're paying for the ride. Yeah.
First 3 races. And then my friend that was helping with the $3,000 race, it Elma let me drive the last 2 without paying.
Oh.
And we're at Charlotte testing, and and I'm not running fast enough.
Yeah.
And Morgan Shepherd doesn't have a ride.
Oh, no.
Yes. So he puts Morgan in because I don't know what to tell him. It's
just slow.
It's going pretty fast. If you're sitting in it and you've never been there,
Feels
it's
fast.
going pretty fast, but the stopwatch isn't good enough.
Oh, no.
So Morgan run about 0.6 quicker.
Ooh.
Well, no, that's what I
the
needed to
different-
see because
right,
I went back
right.
out and run 0.6 quicker.
Did you really?
We were at Michigan with it first year, one of them first races, and Michigan used to be just Saturday, Sunday show. We'd get there and unload Friday, and everybody'd talk and go through tech. And then Saturday morning you practice, you qualified, you had another little practice. They ran IROC race, then they had second round practice. Mm-hmm. We were running fast enough, and it kept getting slower and slower. And they found it. It had a lobe on the cam going flat. So they readjusted on it and talked to James Hilton. And I don't know if it was 1 or 2 gallons of propylene oxide, but we got her in the show.
Propylene oxide.
Yeah, it really helped it.
That stuff works.
Yeah.
Look at your face when you say it, too.
Oh, it was neat. It was neat. It was just like an emergency. You knew who had it in case between DK and
all them,
and
man.
Elmo and Jimmy and whoever Hilton, whoever needed it. It's like, okay, if you're in big trouble, here.
Yeah. I tried to run that stuff a couple times. I don't know if it helped me or not. But
Really? You couldn't tell a difference, though?
me and Wesley bought a can of it. Comes in to the shop in a military style box, and I had to hide it because if Dad would have found out, he'd have been real upset. But we poured it in our fuel, shook it up, and put it in the car, and never bought any more.
We were back in the day when there was a ton of Xfinity cars, during the Busch Series.
Xfinity car, yeah. There'd be 60 cars show up for Charlotte and stuff.
Yeah, and this was at Daytona. And my engine builder walked in, and we had a brand new G Junior car body on a Laughlin car with a new trick V6 in it. And the engine builder walked in and said, "You got a shot?" I said, "Oh, we're right there." He said, "You want it?" I said, "Yeah, I want it." So a gallon.
Of propylene oxide?
Yeah. And the first lap was quick time, which shouldn't be.
Yeah.
The second lap was just a shade faster. Because they told me on the radio that we were quick and we were late qualifying. Just you kind of knew who was left. And my crew chief was like, "I thought I'd run a lot faster second lap." I said, "If I'd have run it flat out second lap, they'd have been waving the black flag, not the checker flag when I came around."
So you were concerned that y'all were too fast, too quick on the first lap because it was going to be an indicator.
And then the fuel samples came back Thursday or Friday. But Robert G took the fall for that because it's like, man, we saw that your dry brake and everything was polished and stuff, and got to be real careful when you polish that stuff because some of that residue from that compound. And I said, "Okay, we'll be more careful next time."
Yeah.
Wow.
And that worked.
We ran second at a big race in Florence, South Carolina, with that propylene oxide in the tank, and
Florence, South Carolina.
I-95 Speedway, right next to Darlington.
Oh, Florence. Okay.
Florence.
Yeah.
So it was a big race, and the NASCAR sent one of their better officials over there. And before the race, I think before we ever all walked out to qualify, he comes by my car, and we had the screw-in cap on top of the deck lid for the fuel intake. He unscrews that cap, opens, pulls it off, stands there a second looking at me, puts the cap back on, screws back in. I was like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "That propylene oxide don't like oxygen." I was like,
Oh.
"Okay." It's like, okay. And he walked on. I'm like, all right. He gets the next car and keeps doing it to everybody, right? And so we qualified and raced, and I ran in the top 3, second or third, and they said, you got to go over to the inspection shed. All right. They had us all there with our hoods off, doing the typical tear down. We go into the shed, and there's that guy standing there with 3 test tubes with all the top 3 guys' fuel in it. And it's all like a blue color, and it's not supposed to be blue because they stuck something in there that's turned blue, right? And he's like, all 3 of y'all are wrong. He's like, I ain't going to throw anybody out, but he said next week if any of you
don't bring it back.
Test bad. Yeah.
Henry Benfield peed in our fuel sample thing one time.
Really?
Yeah. Dick Beatty was not amused.
I bet.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
wait. You just can't throw that one. Why? I was going to say, why would he do that? But then you
It was
already
Henry
answered. It was Henry
Benfield.
Benfield.
Yeah.
Of course it was.
Oh, I never cared about numbers or colors, whoever was on the car, but I was listening to you, and the numbers got to be now because all those different. I never thought about that.
Talking about moving the number around. Yeah, the number's important. That's the only link left.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know what y'all were talking about. You agree with
He
it?
agrees.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I would have never said, it doesn't mean anything. We got transponders. We don't even need numbers, but you don't know who it is.
We'll give a quick,
especially in our deal.
Quick piece of context in case you missed our show. That he's talking about when Dale Jr. went on his soapbox about the fan survey on Reddit that he found that NASCAR sent out on potentially relocating the numbers.
Yeah.
And there was some on the rear quarter panel or on the window or whatnot. And Dale Jr. took an emphatic stance to keep it on the door panel.
Yeah.
Right? Right. So that's what Ken's talking about.
We gotta get back to the peeing and the wait. You never fully explained.
It's just a Henry Benfield story. Didn't need.
I gotta know.
They get a fuel sample. NASCAR wanted a fuel sample, and the official wasn't right there. Usually you just take the line off the carburetor. But Henry just went and
gave him their
peed
sample?
in the little jug, and give it back to them. They weren't amused.
Well, you know what? You bring up a point. Henry, when I think about people that you don't want having a grudge against, like Henry Benfield doesn't play by normal rules, and he used to do that. Henry, we've talked about it on the show. The X-Lax that he would go put into food and the stuff and hand it out to NASCAR officials or spotters or something.
Not all of
legendary.
them. Not all of them.
The ones he didn't like.
Yeah. Well, the ones
Right?
that didn't play the game right.
That's what I'm saying. It was ruthless in his retaliations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, actually peeing in the test tubes
He was
of the
awesome.
samples
He
is
was-
one of the nicer things he's
He
done.
got to be. He was my truck driver for a long time.
And you were glad that he was your truck driver,
Yeah.
so you didn't have to put up with none of his
Yeah.
pranks.
Watkins Glen, 6 o'clock in the morning, leaving the motel. Truck's Friday morning. Truck's not in there yet. And Harry Hyde, if you're leaving at 6, that means it rolls at 6. You don't meet in the lobby at 6. It rolls at 6 or 5 till. So it's 5 till, and Henry's not there. So Harry's got the truck started, and here comes a car flying up, and Henry gets out in his white slacks and his white shoes.
Old Spice.
Yeah. Where you been, Henry? He said, jogging. It's okay, let's go. Yeah.
That's funny.
Henry, I can't remember if I've told this story, but he ran an ARCA race at Pocono back in 2002.
Sportsman race.
Was that what it was?
I told him up.
But he is
run
the only
5th or
one.
6th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's the
I remember
only
that.
one, and I've never heard this, and I will never hear it again. He's the only one that he called for a 3-tire pit stop, and they're like 3, and he goes, I can't afford 4.
Yeah. I took him up with my short track hauler.
Uh-huh.
We hauled him up there, and he ran Charlotte. Darrell was a spotter, but Darrell spotted from his house.
Yeah.
He didn't watch the race. He spotted from. He was just listening to NASCAR radio,
Oh, geez.
and there's someone spun off turn 4, and he said, "Yellow, Henry, they're spinning off 4." And he said, "Yeah, it's me, Darrell. It's me." He was the yellow.
Yeah.
Damn, Darrell, you should watch the race.
Yeah. You're gonna spot.
In
Yeah.
that same race, Henry says on the radio, I'm going to need a fire suit, on that stop. Why, Henry? I myself.
Well, Kenny, I think we need to talk about the week.
The week. What are we talking about when we say the week? Does anybody not know?
I figure it's going to take a lot of our time, so we might as well get to the week. Did you think we were going to talk about the week?
I figured it had to come up.
Yeah.
Which I got some pictures to show you, but no, good. I got a picture of the following week.
Oh,
of Ron Pegram, your dad, and I, all arms around each other, praying for the start of the race. I didn't know he was praying for my safety because he was going to dump me. But the week was good. We didn't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
You know,
so
I'm honored that I've heard you say it was still one of the best weeks ever.
It was a rite of passage. So it was. So for me, we've talked about it on the show. We had Sharon Medina on here. My dad's guys didn't talk to me much. They allowed me to be around, hang out in the pits, and I would try to stay close with Dad or whatever, run off with my friends or whatever. Not many of the guys from his time or his generation interacted with me. And so when you asked me to go on this trip, I'm like, this was extremely way out of character for me, for anybody in Dad's generation. And, I mean, I wasn't going on trips. I was just trying to get to the racetrack when I could with Dad. And I was going to school and staying in trouble, right?
Yeah.
At home. So for Schrader to reach out and go, Dale, I don't know how it all went down, but I'm going to go on a trip. All I know is I'm going to get on a King Air to leave Statesville Regional Airport, and I'm flying somewhere to meet up with Ken Schrader, and I'm going to be with him for a week.
We started out in St. Louis.
I was 15 years old.
Is this 16?
16.
Yeah,
that's right, because I drove my truck.
You drove a truck up there.
I promise you, for whatever reason, I have no clue why. Like I said, I was always in trouble. I'd started reading the Bible, and literally like a day or two before.
And God led you to Ken Schrader.
A day or two before I got on this plane to leave, I had been reading the Bible. And I got on the plane, and I'm reading the Bible, all right, in this King Air, flying to meet Kenny.
And if I remember right, because I was already...
That's important.
I was already... Yeah.
Knowing how we know this trip turned,
You were on the plane by yourself, and then had to turn around and go back.
What?
Because we had to pick up Tim Chris, the banker. Yeah, because we took off without him.
Oh, shoot.
Wait,
yeah.
Whose King Air was this?
It was mine.
Was it?
So you sent a plane to...
Well, it was already here.
And it was coming
Hangared
up.
at Statesville.
And so you're telling Dale, get on the plane, come with us.
Yeah. Well, we weren't on it. It was like him and Tim, I think.
Meet up with us. I got you.
Is it true that you asked Dad to take Kelly?
No.
The next year.
No, the next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did
already
so what did you do? Did Dad come to you and say, take that damn boy with you somewhere? Or
No.
did you ask
No.
him? How did that?
We were just talking, and I said, we'll take Junior on a trip with us. We'll just go racing all week. And he just looked at me. And I said, racing. And he knew, and I also heard that
He knew what?
He knew what was going to happen, which nothing bad happened. Nothing happened that no one's going to jail for.
No.
And, but it was life-altering.
Yeah.
But he knew what was going to happen. And he had to wreck me because that was just him.
Well, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yeah, hold on. Let's start back. So you've talked to Dale Earnhardt about taking Dale Jr. on the trip. You've got him on the King Air with the banker, and you guys fly in
St. Louis,
and you're probably
Tim, the banker.
excited. You're excited because you're on a trip. Nobody's ever invited you to stuff like this.
I met a lot of people on this trip, but me and Tim, the banker, would end up sort of being in lockstep for the rest of the trip. I didn't know Tim,
right?
But he became sort of my guardian in a sense, because Schrader's in and out of cars and over here, running some laps and climbing in this car. And
well, we had a cast. We had
4, 5, 6 people.
Tom Grady,
Yep.
lawyer Tom, and Walter Hanna, the tile contractor. Mm-hmm. And we met up with
cast of characters.
cousin Carl. I mean,
we'll get there.
Okay.
So you're on this plane.
Yeah.
It's just you and Tim.
Yeah.
You're reading the Bible. Mm-hmm. You brought your own Bible because it's just not sitting in the plane.
No.
We couldn't find the one that was in the plane.
And the Bible disappeared.
And y'all land, and then what? And then where do you meet up with Ken?
I don't know.
St.
You don't
Louis.
remember?
St.
Okay.
Louis. We ran Grant City, Illinois the first night. Because we got pictures of us because we won that race.
Yes. I remember, the only thing I remember about that, I remember watching from outside, couldn't really see great, but I remember watching, I remember y'all running around. You had a little bit of a match race maybe, or no?
I don't know, but we won the feature.
Yeah. And the hauler, they didn't really start loading up or hustling to get out of there. Everybody else is kind of leaving a little bit at a time, and before you know it, it's just Kenny in his truck and 30 people maybe. Is a lot of freaking people, it seemed like. Just
It was a big
around,
cooler.
Yeah, standing around drinking beer.
Yeah.
And I was standing there with Ann, and I said,
Kenny's wife.
yeah, where I went up in, maybe I went into the RV for to either pee or to get a drink or something.
We were geared up. We had the hauler and the motorhome.
Yeah. And she says, "You want a beer?" And I was like, "Oh, I can't drink a beer." And she goes, "Yeah, you can." And I said, "Well, I don't want anybody to know I'm drinking a beer." She goes, "Well, you can just pour it in this cup." And so she poured me a beer in a Dixie cup.
She was the bad influence.
She was the bad influence. And so then I drank a bunch of beer. And then I walked over to the racetrack, climbed up in the flag stand, and just looking around, checking the track out. I mean, it's like 12 o'clock at night. It's midnight. They'd still left the lights on. I mean, it was pretty cool. It was really a unique – I'm standing there, with Schrader, and I ain't no danger, and we are just grassroots and
drinking
having a
beer.
blast. Yeah.
We still do that every week, Dale.
Yeah.
Every week.
And then at about 2 o'clock in the morning, Schrader goes, "All right, we should start heading on to the next place." And I don't know where we went from there.
I think we went to Moberly, Missouri.
And raced the next night.
Yeah. And then we went to Topeka to practice on Friday.
Okay.
And then Friday night we went to Belleville, Illinois.
Yeah.
That little
So Belleville, that's how you say it?
Belclair Speedway.
Belclair, right. So we go to Belclair. This one I remember specifically because we, by this time, drinking beer every day, all day, it seemed like.
I wasn't.
Yeah,
I was racing.
Yeah, he was racing. But now I'm getting my own beers after a few days,
Gotcha.
right? And me and the banker.
We don't have to ask anymore.
I'm comfortable. I know where the cooler is.
Real comfortable.
Yeah, real
Right.
comfortable. Now I got a couple nudie magazines. The Bible's long gone.
Your dad stuck his head in the camper at Topeka
during his practice.
Yeah, he says, "Junior up there." I said, "He's fine," and he's like, he's got a magazine and beer cans besides the couch. I said, "I'm good, Dad."
Yeah,
He didn't see that.
Well, he didn't. He
didn't take notice of anything awry at that moment. I didn't even know he did that. I don't remember that.
Wow.
So I remember Belclair. We go to Belclair. I walked into the infield and tiny racetrack, Mike. And I walked over to the rail in turn 3, and I'm literally standing in the infield in what I feel like was only a 4x4 or a 2x4 wooden rail in between me and the racetrack.
No, yeah, it was probably a 2x6.
Yeah. And so, and on the outside, around the grandstands, and I think it's pretty much still the same today. I mean, it's like wooden. It feels like this is an historic track out of the past, man. That really, I mean, it's a great place. Kenny you still go there. Schrader,
yeah, we go there sometimes.
Wallace still goes there. But I just remember how old school awesome it felt. Outside of the track is an old kind of a
Fairgrounds.
Fairground.
Right in the middle of town.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I remember there's heat races going on and everything, and I'm hanging out with the crew, 4 or 5 of us. And
you met Nick Gomrick. He was explaining a lot of stuff to you.
We were like, y'all hungry? I was like, yeah, I'm hungry. Let's go outside. So we went outside, and we had kebabs, the best freaking beef kebab I've ever eaten in my life. And then we saw these 2 hippies in 2 wheelchairs fighting. And, yeah, I don't know. I just sticks in my mind.
I miss some of
He
that.
was in the car. He was in the car driving. But I remember 2 guys in wheelchairs toppled over, and both of them had a hold of each other's hair. Not one was wanting to let go of the other. and they were upset with each other.
Oh my God!
But and I remember we were in the King Air a little bit, flying to a couple things.
Well, we qualified Saturday.
We flew to Topeka to do that, and then we King Air back to the dirt stuff.
Well, yeah, we went to watch the races at Belleville, Kansas. The midget races at that.
Yes,
real,
and I met Sleepy Trip.
Met Sleepy Trip.
Yes.
Yeah. You were quite
Who's that?
impressed with Sleepy.
Well, he has an amazing name, but also, you told me he's like the best ever.
Hero, USAC midget racer. I don't know how many. He's all-time winningest. I mean, he's just he's the guy.
And this track, too, had a fair. It's like the track's plopped down in the middle of the fair.
Huge dirt
Massive.
track. It's like 5/8 mile dirt track.
What's it called again?
Belleville High Banks.
Oh, Belleville. Okay.
Giant
Belleville,
circle.
Kansas. Yeah, giant circle.
We go inside, and I'm watching I walk in. I literally set my eyes on the car going around the track, and I'm waiting on him to go into the turn, and he never did. And I'm waiting on him to lift, and he never did. And he's just a big circle, and they're just like, "Wow!"
Yeah.
And I was like,
front straightaways, maybe 80 feet long. There's a place where the wall is straight for 80 feet.
"Yeah."
Wow.
But I was pretty buzzed up when I met Sleepy. That was my only regret because I don't know if he
noticed
or not.
Oh no, he was. He said, "That's really Dale's son." Yeah, he was. Yeah. That's the trip where when we got to Belleville, we didn't have no way to get to the racetrack, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it is. I know it is. Well, that's the only time I went to Belleville.
Yeah.
That I flew in there.
Yeah.
Because we had to. We flagged down a pickup, and we all climbed.
Yes.
Yes, we flagged down a pickup, and then I gave the guy like $20, and Nick gave him $20, and it was like maybe 6 miles.
And we had our beer cooler.
Yeah, and we didn't have a way to get back after the race. So I said, I know all kinds of guys at the racetrack. We'll get a ride back. Well, they were loading up. We had to go back and run Topeka next day. They were loading up, and they were going to have a beer. So we went out in the parking lot and flagged down another couple pickups and got back to the airport.
To get to the track, I mean, are you like a step away from hitchhiking?
That
I mean,
was
is that
exactly
what
that's
we're
what
talking
we
about?
were.
We were hitchhiking.
We were hitchhiking.
You know, like Dale's anger at the end of the week starting to make a little bit of sense.
Oh no, we were.
He was not at all angry about the hitchhiking.
No, I know. I
Yeah,
got it. But I'm saying is it like in the totality of the week, like it's starting to make sense to me. So you're hitchhiking to the track because you don't have a ride. And this is
where were we when we went to the Gentlemen's Club?
Well, we flew back from Belleville, Kansas, and we had to run to Topeka, where your daddy was coming in, and we were all going to race. Rick Hendrick was there, and we were all going to race Sunday.
So that's a Saturday night?
Saturday night.
Okay.
We flew back to Topeka.
I thought that was in the middle of the week for some reason.
No, Topeka was Saturday night. We didn't race Saturday night. We just went and watched Topeka. And Saturday night, you were
tuned up.
You were tuned up.
Yeah. So Saturday night, Schrader and them all organized a trip to the Gentlemen's Club.
Well, it was between the airport.
I mean, it was a stop.
It was on the way home. Yeah,
you wouldn't have gone
on the way home.
You wouldn't dare go out of your way to the Gentlemen's Club.
No, we had a van.
I mean,
we're in a van. We pull up, and Schrader is like all of them are sort of talking. I'm sitting there, and we're in this van pulling in, and a couple of people were like, "They ain't gonna let him in." Schrader's like, "Oh, they'll let him in." No, they're not gonna let him in. Ain't no way. So Schrader's like, "All right, we're gonna form a circle. Junior, you get in the middle. Just eyes forward. Don't say a word. We're just gonna go in. They're never even gonna see you."
It didn't work.
So we get to the door, and we tried to go on in, and the guy goes, "Hey, you can't come in." A little bit of conversation. Sorry, just can't let him in. So Schrader, I said, "Y'all go in. I'm going to go back out to the van."
Yeah. Well, cousin Carl.
Well, I went back out to the van, and another guy follows me. And he's like, he had hung out with us a little bit, but he hadn't been on the whole trip.
That's probably cousin Carl.
Yeah. So so I know this guy. It's not some stranger. So he's like, let's sit in the bed of this pickup truck next to the van. There's a truck next to the van. Me and him sit in the bed.
We don't know whose truck it is.
So me and him get the beer cooler. We sit in the bed of the pickup truck, and we're drinking beer, and we're just watching people come in and out of the parking lot.
You know who cousin Carl is?
Yes, I'm going to get there.
Okay, all right.
So
okay.
I'm hanging out with this guy. I know him because I've seen him a couple times this week, but he hasn't been on every single thing with us as we've traipsed across the Midwest. So I'm sitting there talking to this guy, having a great, we're just having a great conversation. I watched a gun deal go down. So, yeah, I watched a guy selling guns at the trunk of his car. He's like an old 78 Ford Mercury or something, big old clunker wagon. And me and this guy are sitting in the bed of this pickup truck, and two guys are standing at the back of this Mercury with the trunk open, just talking and looking in there and talking and looking in there. I imagine it was guns. I don't know. I'm going to assume it was guns. Who knows what could have been in there. But anyways, we didn't say a word. We just sat there. It was amazing. We were sitting. Time goes by, right? An hour or two, whatever it was. I don't know how long it was.
I'm sure it wasn't near that long.
Well,
we wouldn't have been in there very long.
I don't know how long it was, but I wasn't worried. Finally, they all come barreling on out of there. Yeah, man, that was a great time. Everybody get back in the van, and we get in the van and drive off, right? And probably about 5 years ago, I was sitting in the lounge for the driver's meeting for the Daytona 500. Either Daytona, maybe it was Busch Race. I don't know exactly what it was. But I'm sitting I got there a little early. Nobody really filtered in yet. Carl Edwards is sitting there with his dad. And I sit down next to Carl. Carl waves me over. He's like, hey, come here. He's like, you know my dad? And I was like, no, I don't think so, man. How you doing? He goes, nah, you know him. He says y'all and him hung out. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, in the back of a pickup truck in the parking lot of a strip club in Topeka, Kansas. I was like, that was you? Carl Edwards' dad.
Yeah.
Back in 1991. What a small world.
Yeah, right. No doubt. So you're back there.
That to me is the best part of the whole trip.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I always thought you made it into the club.
No.
Was there another club?
Nope.
Well, you're leaving out part.
What? Go ahead.
Okay, we finally negotiated with the bouncer.
Oh!
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
How could I forget?
Yeah, how could you forget?
There's a new best
All
part
right.
to this story.
Well, this is the better part.
This is the best part. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, right? Pitch black, but they come out, right? Well, who comes out with them? All the girls that are in the club. Yeah. I mean, how many? There had to be 4 or 5.
Yeah, I remember it a little bit different, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in my mind today, as I'm remembering it.
All the strippers ever were out there
in
in
my
the
mind
parking
today,
lot.
as I'm remembering it, but in about 2 minutes, they're like, hey, you couldn't get in there, so we brought the party out here. And
it's getting
there's
more real now.
There's strippers standing on the hoods of the cars around.
Buying guns.
There's guys carrying AKs around. And there's firing them in the air.
We don't do that stuff anymore. No, we don't do that stuff anymore.
So they're all just dancing on the roofs, so the cars are all around. It wasn't really like that, but that's how I imagine it in my mind.
imagine it was, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the party, the strip club basically just emptied out into the parking lot for I don't know how long.
We didn't want you not to be included.
Wasn't that nice? Wasn't that nice of them?
That's a good friend. That's a good friend.
We were looking out at
I
you.
thought
I'm
that
sure
they
your
had-
dad
I
would
thought
agree.
that they were sitting in there just having a great time going, he's fine.
Right.
They were thinking
we were working the
worried-
whole time.
They were working the whole time, worried.
Right.
The whole time.
What's it
going
going to take to get them off this stage and out there to the parking lot?
So Sunday morning rolls around. I haven't really had a hangover this entire trip until Sunday morning.
Well,
I am
you would have had to
green.
quit drinking to get a hangover.
So I did. We quit drinking. Why did we quit drinking? Because Dad was there. Dad had flew in to run the race.
And is this back at Topeka?
We're in Topeka.
Okay.
Sunday morning, race day.
Mr. Rick's there.
Rick Hendrick's there. I'm feeling pretty rough, and I'm trying to avoid Dad. I'm at the RV.
I gave you strict instructions to don't talk to him.
Yes.
And don't breathe on him.
Right. This is where the napkin story happened. We're at the RV, probably 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's kind of showing up. Rick shows up, and he's like, hey, I think that was really the first time I'd met Rick. So I'm Dale Jr. He's like, I'm Rick Hendrick. He's like, hey, I think it'd be funny if I signed you to a lifetime contract right here. And then I could, it'd be funny to take that contract on a napkin over to your dad and say, look, I got your boy under contract. Nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. And I said, you got it, pal. I'm 100% down with that.
I'm hammered and I'm ready.
I was not hammered. I was
He was not
hungover.
hammered. Yeah.
But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, this is a real damn contract. Now, for Rick, it was a joke. But I'm thinking, man, if I need to really lean on that one day, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try.
Should have kept it.
Yeah, no kidding. So we wrote a contract on a napkin. Me and him both signed it. He takes it over to Dad and plays around with it. We tell that story still even today. But that's when that happened.
Okay.
Shortly after that, Dad is roaming around, right? And I went over to the pit road and sat down in Schrader's pit stall, and they're gluing lug nuts. And I'm just sitting there hanging out, talking to the guys a little bit as they're gluing lug nuts for the race. And I seen Daddy's boots coming across the floor I got my head down, and under the bill of my cap, I can see Daddy walking up. And he looked down at me, and he goes, "Hey!" And I looked up at him, and he just turned around and walked off. I didn't have to say anything. And I didn't see him the rest of the day.
Well, his day was short.
Yeah, until after the race. He started in the back because he missed qualifying.
He wasn't there to qualify.
Right. So he starts in the back. You qualified. You're running up front. He drives all the way to second place. And he gets to second and then missed turn one and backed the car into a barrier. Great little race car. Mark Reno built it. And Tommy Kendall, I think, raced it in Sonoma. But anyhow, awesome car. Did you know, this is totally off the back of that car, the crush panels. Did you ever see that car, how they had the crush panels were some kind of weird fabric or something? It was crazy.
That turn one.
Yeah.
We're out there testing a couple weeks before, but I'm not going to haul my stuff cross country to test, but Rick's going to test.
Yeah.
So I go with them. And we were a little quicker in the car, but, Rick, good racer.
Yeah.
But, we just in the car more. Well, he was having trouble with turn one, so I hopped in with him.
Oh, wow.
I got helmet, uniform, gloves, no seat. I'm holding on. And he went into one and wheel hopped.
Oh,
we spun through that grass forever.
Oof.
And it kept spinning around. And we'd spin around, we'd see them Jersey barriers. Then we'd look at one another. Then it'd spin around, we'd see them Jersey barriers again. We'd look at each other. It stopped about 10 feet short. And I was raised my helmet up, visor up. I'm here for you, partner.
Oh, wow.
But it was big.
I bet.
Wow. It was big.
Oh, man.
So Dale Earnhardt wrecked in the race.
Yeah, so he wrecks real early in the race. And
trying to kill me, I think. Trying to get to me so he could kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember we got on the plane and went home. I don't remember having a conversation with him about it. I don't remember. I think it was, I knew I was caught. I knew he was mad, and he didn't want to talk to me, and I didn't damn sure want to, open my mouth and start anything, So
it was just silent treatment
it was
the
silent,
whole way back.
yeah. And he never said a word to me. Week goes by. They go to Pocono.
This is where you take over.
Well, he just...
Where
Right.
Did he say a word to you?
No, he didn't.
Say anything to you in Topeka?
No, not that I remember. But
It was a long time
took
ago.
a pretty hard hit to the head there, poking. But no, I don't think he was. He knew.
So did he wreck you on purpose in Pocono?
He never wrecks anybody on purpose.
No, you can tell it.
No, he
ran right over you.
Oh, he ran right over me. He had to drive in 3 car lengths
To get
farther to get me, but he got me in. Going into 3 at Pocono, bounced my head off the B post, broke the air duct. The air ducts were on the left side.
Yeah.
Broke the air duct off the left side. Get out of the infield care center, and Steve Burns, I'm holding my helmet, broke off. Steve Burns looked at me. Did you do that in a wreck? I said, no, Steve, I was cutting grass the other day. Neighbor was cutting grass, threw a rock up, hit me. He said, dumb question. I said, but
You said it.
yeah, but I said, Dale said he was sorry. I said, well, that's what he's always says. He dumped me probably 3 times.
Ever.
Oh,
Ever.
that like all after
One
that?
year, no, I don't remember if they were all after that.
Okay,
But
okay.
one time he dumped me at Phoenix. 2 Phoenix deals. He dumped me at Phoenix. I don't remember what for or why. or might have been an accident. Doubt it, because he could make the car do about whatever he wanted. And when we get to Atlanta, Andy Petrie's in the lounge at my trailer, because one of the years he was racing for a championship.
Yeah.
He said, I know you should kill him. You should kill him. I don't blame you if you do, but can you just do it at the start of next year and don't do it this weekend,
Yeah.
You know what? Did we
the
just
same
hear a story like
Rick
that
Mast
with Rick
told
Mast?
us the same story.
Like his crew chiefs were
different
having-
race, different race.
completely different
Same
situation.
conversation.
Right.
He was in the hauler one time. We got to Sonoma. He was in the hauler, in the lounge, your daddy. And he said, I didn't wreck you on purpose. And, I said, bull, No, I didn't. But he was, if he is there to apologize, it was on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I text Tony Stewart. He did some, how Tony, he does so many good things for people that you don't, everybody doesn't know about. I texted him a couple years ago. I said, man, you remind me so much of A.J. Foyt and Dale Sr. Why is that? I said, because you're a very sweet asshole. Which your daddy was, but it's just something about, in the car, he was just
So
rough.
Let me ask this. If that wasn't the only time he'd ever dumped you, and if he never actually said a conversation to you, how do we actually know that he was mad about the Kansas week?
Well, I don't think he was terrible. Man.
So we may have-
next year I called him. I said, hey, we're going to take that trip again. He said, well, Dale Jr.'s not going. I said, okay. That's when I said, how about Kelly? He said, well, I think she'd understand more about what was going to happen.
Wow.
I don't remember if I got wrecked again or not.
Yeah.
So your friendship with him, though, it was all intact. There was no long-standing type of feud over this whole situation. It was just kind of a fun
And
thing.
if there was, I don't know.
You wouldn't have known.
No.
Yeah.
I had a couple things about your daddy.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
I wrote that stuff. When I moved down here, I moved down in '86, in fall of '86, Bristol week, when it looked like maybe they weren't going to send us home. We might get to stay for a while. Your daddy rode me around places. Hey, this is Punchy's. This is where you buy your tires. This is this place. This is where you do this. This is that. And he's just such a help. We built our place out on Windy Road there. He says, you get a bulldozer and dam up that stream and put a pipe there and then put this other pipe in and make a nice pond. He said, you get the pond done and I'll get you fish for it. I'll get you fish. So I call him up and said, hey, this pond, it's looking good and it's probably, a couple more days, it's going to be full. He said, okay, no problem. We're going to put 100 catfish and 200 bluegill in there. And he said, I'll take care of it. So, okay. And he did. And 2 weeks later, they called, want to make sure we were there. I said, yeah. So they came on out. They were COD, but they came on out. We had to pay for the fish. He took care of ordering them and stuff. And then one time,
That was a little detail.
when he was building the deer head shop, he was going to get it done before ours. And I said, no, mine will be done first. And he pulled in our driveway, and shop's all done. It's got a gravel driveway. And I said, told you it'd be done. He said, I had to drive on gravel to get here. I said, call up whoever does the paving. Just call them up and tell them to come do it. So he called them right there, and they came out and paved it.
Damn.
Now, I knew I was going to pay for that.
Yeah.
Now, I might have got wrecked one time because we were in Deerhead shop, and daughter was really little. And
Taylor?
no, my daughter.
Your daughter.
Yeah, which she went with Dale and Teresa and Taylor on the boat one time for a week. But my daughter was really little, and we walked in there, and she was Bambi. Oh. And I said, Dale Earnhardt shot Bambi and the whole family. Yeah, he didn't think that was so funny.
I bet he didn't.
No.
There's a lot of those stories, though, of where Dale Earnhardt's taking care of a lot of people as far as giving them, advice on. I think Michael Waltrip had sort of the same story when he bought his place out here in Carolina. He's like, "This is what you're going to do. You're going to buy this, and you're going to do this, and this is what."
Yeah, I had him drive my car one time, and then there was another GM test car that we both drove. I really liked it. He didn't, but at one time at you know how it is when you get somebody to drive your car. It's like, but it's not. I was lost. I didn't, I didn't care. If you go a second faster, go a second faster. I just get, and we drove it. He drove it and came in and said, "You're going to kill him. You got to fix this thing."
You're like, "Yes, thank you."
Yeah.
So, how did you lose your thumb? Pardon your thumb.
I'm a lot more careful where I stick it now.
Yeah.
I can get it closer.
Yeah.
But we were in Monroe, Washington, Evergreen, with the truck series. And, back in the day, you ran the alternator belt, old GM alternator, and the belt came off the lower pulley, went all the way up the alternator, so that belt would sit there and go like that, So they just fired the truck up. I'm in my uniform, going to warm it up, practice 15 minutes. It died. I reached down there, the belt looked loose, and when I reached down there, they fired it back up because the hood was up, and it went around between the belt and the pulley to the ear on the alternator. There was a heim joint right there, so it was only like that far from the belt, and it stopped there. Then it came out.
My God.
And, so I told Timmy, my crew chief, I grabbed a shop towel, put over it, because it was only bleeding in one place because it was all melded together. And I put shop towel over it, started walking toward the ambulance, and I told Timmy, I said, "Get my thumb, put it in a cup, come over to the ambulance." So I go over to the ambulance, and I was in uniform. There's no blood any place. I got the shop towel around. And I said, "Where's the ambulance driver?" And I said, "I don't know. We got a problem?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "What's wrong?" And I showed him. He said, "Oh, my gosh." So they had this big 53-foot Tony Lama Medical Center there. We walked up in there. The guy put my thumb under faucet.
Ugh. What?
Yeah, it hurt. So then he said, "Okay, sit down here and lay back." And I pushed him out of the way. I said, "No, I'm not laying back. I know what's wrong. Find the guy that drives the ambulance, send him over to the 52 truck, and him and I and my thumb will all go to the hospital. That's what's wrong." I got back that night. Ron Esau ran our truck. I think he ran 8th.
So you went to the hospital and they tuned it up?
Tuned it up. And I told him, I said, "Make sure you cut a little extra out." I've heard about people that, cut a little extra bone out so there's enough meat on the end that when you hit it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes
Damn,
sense.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Never knew this.
No, yeah.
You drilled a hole in your finger one time at a test at Charlotte after running a bit through your finger.
Yeah.
Didn't
I
you?
don't remember.
You don't remember that.
The fact you don't remember drilling a hole in your finger talks about
that might not have
speaks
been-
to the life you've lived.
No. I've been I've been pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Shoulders, collarbones, shoulder blade, sternum, thumb. That's it. One time, how you wreck and you get the red eyes. I turned over a sprint car at Manzanita one time at Phoenix. It stopped, and I'm like, wow. And I remember paramedics being there, and something was wrong. Just something was not right. And I reached up to my shoulder, and something broke on that side. And I reached up, something was broken on that side. And then I asked them, I said, "My eyes open?" And they said, "Yeah." I'm like, oh, man, I freaked. I said, "I can't see nothing. It's pitch black." And Leland McSpadden was there. He said, "Don't worry about that, Ken." He said, "I've had that happen a couple times." So I'd seen stuff happen to Leland that I never wanted to happen to me. And anyway, he got in the ambulance with me, and we're going out through the parking lot, and it's just like an old TV came on. And I asked the guy, I said, "Hey, you got a beard?" And he said, "Yeah." And Leland said, "Stop, damn." Stop. And he said, "What's wrong?" And, "Hell, I'm going to get out and watch a feature. I'll come up and see you afterwards." "You're okay." But, yeah, I've been pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, the way you even handled the ambulance guy and about, you know, the fact that you're missing a thumb is even better than what most people would do. And it makes me think, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can tell me, because we love to talk about times when, you know, on the show when people have lost their temper or gotten in a fight and this, that, and the other. But you don't seem to have any, like, altercations or fight stories or stuff like that. Are you just that even keeled? I mean, because you race enough to where you could be in one a week, but you always just seem to let things roll off your back and don't take it.
It's already been a bad day.
Yeah.
At that point, I don't really need to make it any worse. David Gilliland's David Reagan's first race.
Yeah.
He destroyed us. That was the Tony Stewart dart with no feathers.
Martinsville?
Yeah.
Or no, it wasn't Martinsville.
Yeah, Martinsville.
It was, okay.
He destroyed us. I wiggled him like everybody was because he wouldn't get out of the way. And so the Wood Brothers car destroyed. I get out. I pick up the rear bumper. It's laying there. I said, ooh. When he comes by, I could chuck this rear bumper, you know, just the straight part, through the right window and maybe get him.
What?
You know? And I thought, okay, I'm going to have to wait till the race is over, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be...
NASCAR's going to hold you there.
Even then, it's going to be $20,000 for something kind of serious. Said, I bet Kenny Jones was my guy.
Oh, that's right. You're a former bus driver and Dale's current bus driver.
Yeah. I said, I guarantee you, I mean, Kenny Jones' nose were destroyed. So my son Sheldon was up there. I said, he's got my motorcycle and Sheldon at the end of the tunnel, because Martinsville had a tunnel then.
That's right.
So I said, I'm not doing it. So go out, Sheldon and I ride home. Walk in the garage next week, Mike Helton's like, thanks.
Yeah.
And I said, no problem. I said, I figured, you know, it was going to be a big fine. I was going to have to stay till the end of the race. And I figured, heck with it. I'll crash him later. He said, see, that's a veteran.
Well, you know what? You know, the difference is that you actually took time to think about the consequences. That's what race car drivers never seem to do.
Well,
the consequences.
Not always, but a lot of times.
Well, you did in that situation. You always know how much it's going to cost, too.
You mentioned Kenny Jones. So
he's awesome.
Yeah. One of the lucky things for me is that I guess, you know, when after Dad passed away, there was a couple drivers that gave me some great advice and helped me out in a few situations. And one of them was Kenny. And he came to me, I guess you were getting out of full-time cup racing, and I was in between bus drivers.
Yeah, I remember this.
Right? And Kenny come to me and he goes, stop looking, got you guy.
Yep.
I was like, all right, you said it. That's happened a couple of times with other drivers when I needed to, you know.
You needed somebody to set you straight.
And, man, Kenny Jones.
He's awesome.
Yeah. So he drove Schrader's bus for how many years?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah.
Loves y'all, and y'all are like brothers, even today. So
yeah.
the great thing about, one of the best things about hiring Kenny Jones is that I get to see Schrader, because Schrader will come see Kenny.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes Dale's there.
Sometimes I'm there and I get to see Ken Schrader too. So I know
he's good.
Yeah, he is, and I appreciate you doing that.
Oh, he's just good people.
I know.
Because
loyal
I called
to
Kelly.
bone.
I called Kelly and said, "Hey, I got a guy for you," and said, "Oh, I've already got 6 interviews. I can't do any more." I said, "Well, this will be simple. Don't interview them people. Just hire Kenny."
I remember this, and no offense to them, but we were about to hire something that was significantly less, to a lesser standard than what Kenny Jones brought to the table.
Yeah.
And you know, I think about that when Schrader kind of like stopped us in our tracks and said, "I got your guy."
You can't put a price on the value, and
Right.
somebody that will do that for you to say, "Look, you know, this is exactly what you need." Kenny knew me. Kenny Schrader knew me, knew Kenny Jones, knew it would be good, and saw that opportunity and got in there and made it happen, and that's important.
You know, the greatest thing you can say about Kenny Jones is as soon as we hired him, we were like, "Give us some Schrader stories."
Yeah.
And he'd say, "Nope." I mean, will not tell us a Schrader story.
He wouldn't have any.
I'll tell you this too. If Ann Schrader's ever at the racetrack that I'm at, I'm going to see Ann Schrader.
Yeah, she's coming.
Yep.
Door locked or not, she's coming.
Yeah.
She'll get in.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a rare quality in people. Even some of the best friends might not go out of their way if you're on the same property.
She gonna find you.
Yeah. She will find you.
Yep.
I love it. And she always asks the right questions.
Like what?
Just about family. How's Isla?
Yeah.
She always gives you some advice before she leaves.
Can you confirm or dispel myths that we've always heard about you? And that is like nothing, like just basic things that I've always just been curious. Like, is it true? I've always heard this, that you know exactly to the dollar what the purse is and what to take it. That's not true?
When I drove for Mr. Donlevy, if you run 14th, 15th would be a little better because every dime you could get. Well, 15th used to have, 15th had contingency money, 14th didn't. 20th had contingency money, 18th didn't.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand.
I mean, we were running races that, paid $800 to start. So, I mean, 20th might pay, I don't remember.
$1,400 or something.
$1,400. And 18th pay $1,500, but there'd be $300 worth of contingency money for 20th. Bob Johnson gets so mad. In '87, we hired Bob, and our program went, got a lot better. So he thought you'd get the pole everywhere. We got one. Your daddy and I rode down together to Darlington the day we got our first pole. But we go to Pocono. It paid, I think, maybe $2,500 for a quick time then, $500 for second round fastest everywhere. But Pocono paid $2,000 for second round fastest.
Dang.
Well, we didn't have no telemetry or anything, and and nothing on TV. So you just drive down turn one. You get down there you go about 3/4 throttle, and you start standing on the brake. So it sounds like you drove down into yesterday, or to tomorrow. And then you just go down the back straightaway and just jack around there over the tunnel and stuff. So you wind up 25th, and then you come in and tell them you got loose in the tunnel. Well, they don't know. You can't stand in the truck and tell if someone got loose over there or not unless they wreck. And then we go get that $2,000, on second round
qualifying.
Mr. Donlevy, like, good job.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but it was just different. That 500 for second round fastest, it had like Jimmy Means and all that whole group. We tell somebody, said, okay, we won't requalify, but we want 200 of the 500 if you get it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll go ahead and requalify.
So all that was going on in the back of the garage.
Oh yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, another myth that I want to know: is it true that because you used to race with Budweiser as a sponsor, but do you have a personal deal with them even to today, where they just give you beer?
No, we don't have a personal deal. We have a local distributor. And the brewery too, because of the racetrack at I-55 that work with us. So yeah, we got a lot of problems.
The beer
AB products aren't one of them. Now they've caused some problems, but yeah.
I think that maybe that might be why I'm such a loyal customer still, is because of. So I went in. I kind of came in behind Kenny, on the Budweiser deal.
That's exactly right.
And so, in the way he continued to be an ambassador for them was an example for me, right?
Right.
And because I like free beer and they had great product.
Well, your daddy, when I first hung out at his shop, it was come on over, we'll have a cold beer.
Yeah.
Cold beer. I'm like, how else you drink them, Dale?
Right.
It was cold beer, Yeah.
And he had the beer room.
Yeah.
He did? In the Deerhead shop or something?
Cases and cases, man. God dang. I mean, it probably was only about 30 cases max at one time.
But it looked big when you were younger.
When you were 16, 18, 20 years old, you were like, this should be under Jesus, lock and key, man.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
This should be in a safe.
Do you keep, and this it would be probably a Kenny Jones source. He said that when it comes to record keeping, when it comes to your vehicles and stuff, that you have immaculate record keeping of anything you own, just to the date, like your you have logs. You're methodical in that. Is that true?
I write a lot of junk down. Yeah, I write a lot.
So that's
of junk.
true then.
Yeah, I got. That's
commendable.
Not so much on the cars. I got a book on the cars, but not so much on the cars, but on the races, big time.
Yeah.
Just date. And it used to be, probably 81, 82 and stuff. You drive 30 different cars throughout the course of the year. You just go somewhere and drive something and just what it paid.
Yeah.
What association stuff.
So 2001, maybe 2002, I'm sitting in my motor coach at Watkins Glen Friday night.
Damn Terry Labonte.
Knock on my door. I think it's Schrader. Hey, come here. All right. I mean, I didn't leave my bus
I remember.
for nothing.
Right.
And I didn't think anyone else was in anybody else's buses. I imagined that I'm sitting in the motor coach lot with all the other drivers all sitting in their buses, right? Watching TV, doing whatever. I go with Schrader. I mean, literally next door. And walk into a motorhome, and it's him, Terry Labonte,
Rick Mast.
There was 6 or so of you in there drinking beer,
Yeah.
hanging out.
Yeah.
And y'all had been hanging out for a while.
There was police tape around my motorhome, around the Bonnie's motorhome the next day when I got up. said I couldn't enter. It was all the way around her. Yeah, that was a big night. And when you drive out tunnel, I've been to Watkins Glen forever, but drive out tunnel, there was people would hang signs over there, and people had a big old sheet up there that said Dale Jarrett crying towel. Well, we'd been drinking for a little bit, and I told Dale Jarrett, I said, hey, get your ass on a golf cart. We're going over there.
Yeah.
And it didn't have that up next day. They were Dale Jarrett fans.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they changed. But we had to, we took cooler, and then we, drank theirs too. But and all them people up there at all the racetracks.
They are, but
they're great.
So imagine that.
Watkins Glen also
Four
is underrated.
4 or 5 veteran cup drivers cruising around on Friday night in the infield, going from campsite to campsite, having a beer or two. I'd never. So in that moment when we went and sat down in that motor coach, I learned that Terry Labonte talks. I'd never heard a word out of that man.
We had him at Michigan one time, and there's 4 or 5 of us having a drink, and he got up. We were by his motorhome. And when he came down, he had trouble getting in the chair. And we didn't say anything because he's a 2-time champion.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of respect there. And then when he went back into his bus the second time and he had trouble getting up the steps, says, okay, we don't care how many championships you won, your ass is going to bed.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
We had James Finch here last week. And he wouldn't tell us a story. I wonder if you remember, but when we told him that you were coming, he said, ask Schrader if he's ever had a car end up in his flower bed. Do you know what he's talking about?
Yeah. LaJoy wrecked me at Atlanta in a Busch car.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Atlanta, it's kind of big.
Yeah.
And I told Petrie, it was in Petrie's car, I said, I'll wreck him next chance I get. He said, no, you won't. You'll talk about it. You won't do it. I said, $100. And he said, okay. So that was in the spring, Atlanta. And we were only running some Busch races, but went into 3 at Richmond. And I'm underneath Randy. And he's, we're going around another car, and I just dumped him. And I went up to Reno the next week, and they cut the back half of it off and took it over to the house, put it in the front yard.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they did.
Yeah.
And they put it in your front yard.
Yeah. And I asked.
That's what he meant.
Yeah, I asked.
Now it makes sense.
I saw Reno the next week. I said, man, I felt bad about that. I said, I was up underneath him, and that lap car kind of runs out of the room. And he said, I thought it was the first good shot you got since Atlanta. And I said, that could have been it too. But I bought 2 cars, 2 engines, and a trailer from Finch after the ARCA race one time.
Why?
It was red cups were involved.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw my
But I had to call home and say, hey, we need to bring like $110,000 check down when you come next week because I bought some stuff from Finch.
Good Lord.
And it was like $110,005 because the $5 was a non-compete clause to not run the ARCA race next year.
That's funny.
That's hilarious. Well, man.
We got anything else we want to throw? Oh, do you got it?
Yeah.
Did you get to all your
what you got,
stories?
Schrader?
Well, your daddy. Mm-hmm. I know I pissed him off one time. It was great at Dover. The Gillette right guard halfway deal.
Yeah.
You had to lead halfway lap, 10 grand. Mm-hmm. But you had to be in victory lane after the race to get the check, or otherwise you didn't get it. I was under him. You know how Dover was, and just under him. This was bias ply tires, I'm sure, and he's making life miserable. Finally, lap 247, wiggle him a little bit and goodbye. And might have been Richard Broom, or maybe Ken Howells. He said, "Ooh, he's going to be very mad." I said, "You think he's mad now? Watch this." Mm-mm. And we led lap 250, and I just stuck my hand out the net and went like that and went into one and drove all the way up top and let him go, then just followed him. He was mad. He drove my Busch car one time at Hickory.
Dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 15.
Yeah, and I think it had Mom and Pops on it. And we went up there, and I said, "Hey, let's put Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet on it." He said, "Well, you won't make a show." And I said, "Well, we'll make a show. We'll be okay." Because he got in a point, where they were struggling there for a while on the bull rings, hauled ass everywhere, but not. And we went up there and we qualified second, but it got rained out. And whenever they rescheduled it, I couldn't go back. And he called me up and said, "Hey," they said, "you can't go back." I said, "No." He said, "I want to drive a car." I said, "Okay." He said, "I'll come over and get it. I'll put my seat in it, and I got to put decals on it." I said, "No." Because I know how he was. He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's got a seat in it. You just drive that seat, send your decals over, and we'll put them on." "Oh, no." I said, "You'll just screw it up. You'll screw it up. It's ready to go. Don't touch it. Just drive it." So we didn't let them pick it up until Saturday morning. early Saturday morning, they came and got it. Went up there. He beat the hell out of it, run ninth, but he kept going to the back, having problems and stuff. But
destroyed the body.
Yeah. And then he got home. We cut the body off it when we got it back, and I ripped the friggin' decals off. I wasn't even thinking.
Now you wish you had them.
Yeah. It'd been cool.
You got that modified still? Street legal modified?
No, don't have it anymore.
That was fun. He loaned it to me for a day.
Yeah. Then your daddy and I had that amphi car together.
The amphibious car that would go into the lake.
I know I got wrecked over that.
Jeez.
What?
We were in Detroit, and I saw it. We were driving down the road, and I said, "We should buy that." He said, "I wonder what they want for it." And I said, "I don't know, but if we bought it together, we could pay too much for it." So we got it. I sent, he gave the guy $500 down. It was like 10-5. He gave the guy $500 down, and I sent a rollback and a $10,000 cashier's check up there.
Jeez.
It showed up at Charlotte on Thursday. We rode it around the infield. My brother was there, and he said, "Do not put it in the water till I'm with you." I said, "Yes, sir." So we took it to the house and drove her in the pond. He should have been there. And then later, the next year, Bill Jr. and Gary Nelson had bought one. And get called to the trailer. Your daddy's in there, and he says, Bill Jr.'s like, "Hey, we're going to put a boat ramp on both ends of Lake Lloyd. We're going to start, finish line, drive around, race around, run in Lake Lloyd, run the length of Lake Lloyd, come out, finish the lap. We're going to bet on that race. And Dad's like, he said, what kind of shape is our car in? I said, you're about $5,000 away from being our car.
That's right.
I got wrecked again for that,
Jesus.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Most people just have a conversation or
Yeah.
maybe a little fight. Man, he went to the jugular. Just wrecks your car.
Man.
Goodness. What a treat
Lot of
this
fun.
has been.
Yeah.
Lot
You're
of
the
fun.
most requested
Yeah.
guest we've ever had.
He is.
It's been happening
People
for a year and a
love
half. We just couldn't ever get you because of your race schedule, which is
I
insane.
know that you're aware that a lot of people, follow your career and love the fact that you're still out there racing, but there's so many fans that still appreciate you.
I just couldn't make it because I'm not retired
working
like everybody
hard.
else. I'm still
I know.
I'm salaried, man.
Yeah.
It's hard to get away.
So you're going to run how many races this year?
Well, we're getting a little late start. Sheldon Creed drove our dirt car down Florida, did an awesome job. But I'll still get in. I'll get in 65, 70, and then we'll do 45 of those play days for Federate where we take cars out to the track.
45 play days.
Yeah, last year we did 60.
Jeez.
It's going to be down to about 45 this year.
And
And what is that? A play day?
Federate Auto.
Federate Auto Parts, which
Which
is our
your sponsor forever.
Yeah, this is our 21st year, and they've been great. So play days, we take cars to the racetrack, we sit people down, we talk to them, we send them out 2 at a time so they have a chance to be in a multi-car accident, and then they run 8-10 laps. Then they come in and they say, oh man, if I'd have had a couple more laps, I was really starting to get it. And then we put them in a 2-seater and run them
Oh,
3 or 4 laps.
yeah.
And then we feed them and go somewhere else and do it the next day. We'll do it 5 or 10 days in a row. It's great.
What is this bus thing? I mean, if that's a play day, what is this bus thing you're going to do?
Pretty cool way to spend your 65th birthday.
On your birthday, you're going to do?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's a school bus figure 8 race.
Of course it is.
The weekend before, we got 500-lap sprint car race at Little Anderson, Indiana. Real sprint car, 500 laps. It's pretty cool. But the next week is school bus figure 8 because we got a play day. We got to be up there the next day or the day before or something for a Federated play day. So, big Ron Drager ARCA fan, and we were looking at schedule and a school bus race that night. And he pays $100. He gets his local guys to drive the school buses. Pays $100 to run school bus. You get an extra $100 if you turn it over. I said, how do you turn over school bus? He said, oh, you don't even have to worry about it. You just got to tell your buddies it's okay. They'll turn you over for you. So I called him the other night. He said, he said, really be ready for this. We've clocked these buses in excess of 22 mile an hour. So, yeah, pretty excited about Toledo on May 29th.
Yeah. That's going to happen in Toledo. My God. 65-year-old birthday party, figure 8 school bus.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, man, I knew you was going to be on this show at some point. And when we figured out we had you booked, I wrote some small notes. And I try not to really, the big elephant in the room is that on the day my dad was killed, that you were a part of that accident. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to say something about it. We can't do this podcast. We can't have this conversation and ignore it, right? So I wrote something and I wanted to read it to you if I could.
Don't mess me up here.
I'm not going to mess you up. You don't have to say a word, all right? But I just I've known you a long time, and a lot of time has passed since that happened. And you've been a great friend to me. You're one of only a few to see the darkest moment from my dad. That you have intimate knowledge of those moments. You are a keeper of that delicate information. It makes me feel close to you, Kenny. I feel pain for you to have to carry that memory, but you carry it for me. You carry it for Kelly, Dad's family. You carry it for anyone who's ever cheered for him. It's a secret that you'll keep to your last breath. Kenny, I know you might sometimes wish you weren't the one, but I'm glad it was you. Mm. And I really appreciate you for who you are and the friend you've been to me. Just that little gesture to give me the nod on Kenny Jones. There was a couple drivers in the last couple of decades that gave me some great advice, really, really good advice in particular times. And just to do that small thing, you knew it was a big thing to put Kenny with me. You knew how good a person Kenny was. You knew how important he was in your life and how important he would become in mine. He means the world to me and Amy. And I just appreciate it.
Well, I love you guys, but the best advice I ever gave you, you didn't listen to. Don't look at your dad and don't breathe on him. You screwed that up.
I swear I didn't breathe on him. I didn't say a word to him. He just knew.
Yep.
He knew.
It's been fun. Going to have more.
Yes, sir. Good luck to you this year. Have fun tearing up the dirt tracks, everything else you do. We love you. Tell Ann we said hey, and we miss her, and we're sorry we didn't get to see her today.
All right, guys. Thanks for
Yes,
having
sir.
us.